Welcome to the future, where the glass is half full and you'll need new glasses, where you'll be jumping from conclusions.
The past is annulled, and a new future is born.
Never before in history has so much meant so little to so many. AD on the radio.
It's you and the senorita whoop a blowing up the tweeter cause it's me up in the speaker. Back in the mama seat, the top down like a player, and the sound up in your ears, and it's the dopest rhyme say I run a game like.
So if we rewind a couple of months, was it even that long ago? So much has happened since then. It feels like it was a long time ago. But if we go back a little bit, our friend comedian Steve Hofstetter, who is a frequent guest to the show, our buddy was coming into the studio to talk about this trip that he was taking to Orlando, Florida, and surrounding areas to go, watch some spring training baseball, which is awesome. That totally jealous of that. And then also do a whole bunch of stand-up comedy dates around spring training with his buddies Matt Ritter and Danny Jolles. Now, it sounded like a great old time. We weren't expecting it to be a career-changing moment or a game-changing moment for Steve Hofstetter. Steve Hofstetter has made a name for himself. Unbelievably talented, unbelievably gifted, does so many different things on so many different sort of very legit platforms, from television to radio to writing. Yet the thing that seems to have really raised his star has been when he does a stand-up gig and people start heckling him, and he deals with them, not unlike D'Artagnan would with a rapier back in the day. It's a fun thing to watch and an even more fun thing to listen to. And there's lots of clips of Steve Hofstetter dealing with hecklers in the audience at stand-up shows. But one thing happened in particular on this trip to Florida that really just absolutely exploded on the interwebs and beyond. Funkhauser, do you have the clip of Steve dealing with I think it was T-ville, Florida?
And I know there are parents in the room tonight. For the parents in the room, I want to make sure you know this. You're not special. And I'm tired of your shit. Because parents walk around like having a kid makes you special, and that's not true. Raising a good kid, that makes you special. Statistically, too many of you are applauding, but some of you right now are like, that's true. Mine's in juvie, but someone else. Someone else. Mine's got this math problem, but it's someone else. It's going to be great. It takes more effort to order a pizza than it does to have a child. Bullshit. Well, hold on, I got this. Tell me this. What?
How many children did you have?
Has anyone ever ordered a pizza by accident? Just open the door. How'd this pizza get here? I was hoping God would stop the pizza. I can't handle a whole pizza. I'm only 15. I'm very upset by this.
How many children have you had, honey?
I said I haven't had any.
All right, then you don't know anything about children, so what the hell do you know about pizza?
First of all, I've had a lot of pizza. Here's the thing. You can't just say, well, you haven't had any kids, so you don't know anything about kids. Because here's the thing. I've never flown a helicopter. If I saw one in a tree, I could still be like, dude, up. It's not supposed to be up there. That's pilot error. I expect a pilot to go piss at me like, until you've understood the pressures of flying a helicopter, you can't possibly know what it's like to fly a helicopter. I've got 3 helicopters, I haven't slept in months. Like, no. I get what you're saying, but when something's fundamentally wrong, you can just tell. You a sports fan at all, miss?
Pardon?
You a sports fan? Sure. Who's your favorite team?
Oh, Redskins.
Redskins. Big Redskins fan. Because sometimes when the Redskins play and they don't win, you get mad?
No, I get upset, but I don't get mad.
Upset, but you don't get mad. Well, let me rephrase my question. Do you ever get upset?
I'm a Redskins fan, do or die.
You're a Redskins fan, do or die. Well, have you ever played professional football? So what the do you know about football now?
Steve Hofstetter is here, and we'll talk to him about that clip and how it has kind of been a game changer for him next. Thank you so much for hanging out. Let's start the show.
Where the left and right come together for fundamental truths. AD on the radio, on Twitter at ADSXE.
I do what I want, when I want, how I want. Every day you're going and working, running that rat race at that pace in that place will leave a bad taste for anyone, everyone working day after day. So buddy, I gotta say, yo, there's gotta be a better way, yeah. And you do what they told ya, company man, feel it, a mindless little soldier. How can you live like that and maintain your composure before it's begun? Your life's already freaking over, yeah. I do what I want, when I want.
So, Steve Hofstetter is in studio with us today to talk about the clip that we just listened to that went absolutely viral. I have to thank you. I put it up on my radio station blog, and it did huge. So, inadvertently, you made me look good in front of my bosses, and you managed to make iHeartMedia a whole bunch of money off of digital advertising. Thank you for that, Steve.
Well, I'm so glad that they shared so much of it with me.
And us, too, by the way.
Yeah, me too.
That was utterly insane. We were just doing this tiny little gig in Titusville, a city that has been a bit down on its luck. The space shuttle used to launch from there, and once that stopped happening, a couple schools closed, the post offices closed. Like they were so appreciative that we were there. Like before anything even happened, like I felt like they hadn't had entertainment or anything in a long time. Like, Matt, they kept coming up to us and just being like, thank you so much for being here. This is so wonderful that you're doing this.
There was a lot of handshaking. I mean, it felt like we were doing some sort of charity mission work there.
Yeah.
Day up.
We should also probably explain super quick. We are joined in studio as well by Matt Ritter, who was on this baseball comedy tour with Steve. Matt is an annoying individual only because he seems to have been given entirely too much by God before being born. He left a big law firm for the big stage to be a stand-up comic. He's gifted and talented in ways that you and I can only dream about. Matt Ritter, welcome to the show.
Thank you. If it makes you feel any better, I drive a 1999 purple Saturn.
Oh, really? That's actually older than... Wow. I thought I was the only one that still had a turn-of-the-century car.
Yeah.
Very good. Very good.
Otherwise known as killing it in life.
Yeah.
That's awesome. But back to Titusville. Go on.
Yeah. So Titusville, it seemed almost like a charity event. And so this woman was there. She's 72 years old. I found this out because afterward her granddaughter was there and apologized to me profusely. It was something where, like, a lot of the town was there. Like, the town judge was there, and state rep and the sheriff. Like, it was one of those things where just, like, everybody in Titusville was there because there were, like 80 seats. And so it just kind of happened in the middle of the show. And when it happened, I didn't think anything of it. I wouldn't even put this in my top 10 heckler clips. When we were going to a game in Orlando the next day. And so we're staying in Orlando that night. We drive back to the hotel. I put the clip up before bed. It's uploading because we had like slow hotel internet. So slowly uploading. And I tell Matt and Danny, and I was like, yeah, I think the clip will do pretty well. I bet it'll have like 8,000 or 10,000 views.
Yeah, nobody went to sleep that night being like, oh my God.
What's going to happen? And
and we'll circle back around to this in a second after you finish telling the story. But all of your stuff on YouTube that is done well it's really funny. This to me, I want to talk to you about what it is you think resonated with this particular clip. But please continue your story.
So we wake up the next morning. It's no big deal. I don't even think to check it. And we go to the game, and I check my Reddit before the game. And I have like a ton of notifications. And I was like, what the hell is this? And it was the number one It was literally the number one thing on Reddit. And so I looked at the view count, and it was already at 50,000. And YouTube views are also on delay. And so I was like, okay, something is happening right now. This is really weird. And then during the game, I keep getting all these little updates. Like, we're just sitting there, and I get, I find out some e-cards shared it, and then Joe Rogan shared it. Whoa. And then it just kept just snowballing. And it was just one of these things that by the end of the day, it became almost this game of like, where else is it? Let's find where else it is.
My girlfriend, who doesn't really pay attention to all of our comedy stuff, goes, hey, did you know Steve's number one on Facebook?
Yeah, that was the craziest. That was the next day. So by the next day, it had, and I think some e-cards was responsible for this because they shared it on Facebook. And then it started spreading there. And my name was the number one trending topic on Facebook, ahead of the new Game of Thrones trailer, ahead of every political candidate. And it was something where we were like, oh, well, I mean, Matt's... Yeah, that's the robot overlord music.
Oh, yes. For those that don't know, we refer to Steve as our evil robot overlord. And given how he manages to set the internet on fire, this seems incredibly...
I like it. I think it's accurate.
It's good. This will be my music forever. So... Yeah, so, we didn't really know what was going on, and when it starts trending on Facebook, it's like, oh, well, that's just because you guys are friends with me, and so you see Facebook's algorithm, because that thing where, you think, hey, I'm kind of hungry, and then a Facebook ad shows you a burger, that weird, creepy thing that they do, and so then what we did is we were at that show in Orlando that night, and I just said to one of the fans, I go, hey, give me your phone. And we looked, and it was on their phone too.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh, by the way. Oh, you know what? Well, because this show's on in Orlando.
Yes.
So let me take a nice public service announcement to say that night we were playing Bombshells in Orlando.
Oh my God.
And they stiffed us. They didn't pay us.
Oh no.
They didn't pay us the same night that I was getting world famous.
Oh, by the way, let's just set it up too. By the way, so that place is a real kind of seedy little bit dive bar, right? But they have a great music venue, intimate music venue set up. But the girl who was supposed to be running the room just decided not to show up for work.
Yeah,
that's Matt's inner lawyer coming out. It was not the in.
I like it. No, I like it.
I
am arguing.
That was the owner of the venue.
She doesn't show up for work, so she can't introduce people and bring them into the club.
Yeah, it was terrible. We'll tell you more after the break.
Hofstetter's picking up on how the show goes. Thank you.
About 10 with puppies in my face and Dad gotta join the human race.
Don't get the blues, get all the news. We mean all of you guys out there in Radioland. All aboard!
He's back. AD on the radio.
Give it up, yeah. Give it up, yeah. Bring this on, bring this on. Come on, come on. That's the way you do what we do. That's the way you do what we do. That's the way you do what we do. You do what we do. You do what we do. That's the way you do what we do. That's the way you do what we do. That's the way you do what we do. You do what we do. You do what we do. Well, it's a new one. Here I come again, coming again, taking it back to the place where I'm picking up the pen. And before I started,
did you see what Steve did there, Funkhauser?
Yeah. He took my hand cue.
Yeah, evil robot overlord. Not only that, but he teased going into the break.
Yeah.
He's clock managing and teasing and all this sort of stuff. It's just no wonder he is rapidly taking over a good chunk of the Western Hemisphere. That is awesome. So,
can we talk more about how Bombshells is terrible?
I'm going to get calls, but and yes, obviously, but
they didn't pay us.
Yeah,
that is not being paid is terrible. How many people did you bring into the venue?
All of them.
So here's what happened. So the person who was supposed to work the door, who's also one of the bookers and management, so she shows up 45 minutes late. People come and go in that time. Also, people get seated. There's no one taking drink orders in the showroom.
She's also the bartender.
What?
Yeah, so people get seated and leave also. So in the contract, it was and it was Easter Sunday. So the contract is supposed to be a minimum of 40 people. If all the people who came and left had stayed, we would have been about 55 or 60. And we ended up with, I think, 37.
According to their count.
According to their count also. We didn't think to count because we're like, oh, well, we're well over 40 because people keep leaving.
There were 40 people hanging out with us after the show.
Yeah. And so we didn't get paid because we didn't make the minimum.
it was a dispute. They weren't there to let me just. Okay, so you feel as though, you feel as though,
nice diplomacy.
Well, like that there was no one there to let people in when the doors were supposed to open, there was no one there letting people through the doors.
Yeah.
Therefore, you missed out on a significant number of audience members,
and people came through the doors and left because there was no one serving drinks.
Right, and so it was there wasn't a chance to more than 40 people showed up.
Yeah,
a lot of them went away because it didn't seem like
it wasn't anything I was going to argue about. It was this moment, like it's the moment in my life where it was the Facebook trending thing started about 2 hours before that show, and so it was one of these moments where I'm like, am I going to argue over a little bit of money, or am I just going to smile knowing that like I never need to come back and work this place again?
I think that's it's interesting, and it really is indicative of what entertainment is like, because people that are outside of it, they hear about the wins, but they don't hear about millions of times getting stiffed on show money, millions of times where the promoter screws up and nobody knows you're there, or millions of times like when I used to be in a band, I had a #1 record and I would show up and play someplace and like no one would be there because they literally the advertisements were listing the wrong night, and then we'd get angry letters from people being like, we showed up, where were you? The promoter said you canceled the last moment. It's like, no, we were there the day before playing and nobody bite me, and all those things that happen, nobody hears about, but they hear about the wins, and I think it's a great juxtaposition. Right on the back of this crappy show where you didn't get paid properly, you're also having one of the biggest wins of your career. Now, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
What do you think it was about that clip that really resonated with people? Because, you said you wouldn't put it in your top 10 of heckler clips on your YouTube page.
It was.
You have 30 million, probably way more than that now. Probably
more,
close to 40 million views on YouTube. A lot of it made up of stuff where you're being heckled and dealing with hecklers. That's sort of, in a weird sort of way, what has introduced you to the world. And this clip, while it was super strong, didn't seem to me like I couldn't tell how it was so much better than all of the other stuff that you have that is also really, really good. You know what I mean?
It's like I think part of it was an accident. Part of it was someone put it on Reddit at the right time, I guess, because Reddit is so much about how many people like it in a short amount of time. So that started the snowball. I think people liked it. She walked into material. I mean, I say that at the beginning of the clip. It's one of these things where I had an answer for everything she said because she was doing the very thing I was making fun of. Even the part where when I start doing the helicopter joke and she's like, why is that? Like I could not have written a script for her that was better than what she did.
Yeah.
I remember reading on the comments, there were a couple of people like, fake, this is a plant, and it's like I could tell you it was an old lady who had no idea what she was walking into. But it's like so amazing that I could almost see how some stupid commenter could believe that.
Yeah, because it was so perfectly, it seemed almost scripted. And then at the end, I took a chance on the Are You a Sports Fan only because we were on the spring training tour. The reason that was in my head was because we had just come from a baseball game. And she happened to be, what are the odds that a 72-year-old woman in Florida is a diehard Redskins fan?
Slim to none.
Yeah.
Well, although, but old people from the East Coast moved to Florida, so that kind of makes sense to me. Because,
true.
When she said Redskins, I was like, oh, okay, I probably, used to be in D.C. and retired to Florida to play shuffleboard and eat early bird dinners like I'm hoping to do
talk
really
some
soon.
smack at comedy shows.
Yeah, and she sounded a little racist, so that would make sense that she would gravitate toward that franchise. But it was, it was just everything about that it just fit perfectly. And I guess, people really enjoyed it for that reason. Someone asked me if, have I thanked her at all because of how popular it got? Because, this thing, 3.5 million views in 2 days. It actually really helped the bar as well. It was Bar 9 in Titusville, and their logo is in the back of the clip. And I've been in touch with the owner of the bar, and who, by the way, so funny that the day after when we got stiffed at Bombshells, he was someone who, even before people showed up, he's like, we're going to give you a bonus. And we're like, why?
The nicest.
And he was like, well, because, we like comedy and we want to have more of it. And, and then enough people did show up to get a bonus, but it was still, it it was just such a sweetheart, and I was so glad that is where the clip was. But anyway,
well, you might wind up getting the keys to the city of Titusville. I mean, it sounds like you've done a lot for the local economy.
I don't think they lock their doors there anyway. But yeah, so someone asked me, like, have I thanked this woman at all? And I said, if my ex-girlfriend hadn't have broken my heart and treated me terribly, I would not have ever met my wife. But my ex-girlfriend wasn't invited to the wedding.
Right. It makes total sense. It's interesting that you say that about Titusville, too, because there's certain, like, again, being one of the best shows I've ever played was in Houma, Louisiana, where it was like, I'll never forget, it was on a Thanksgiving night, Houma, Louisiana, and we played like bigger cities around and like legit venues, sort of like real venues with real PAs and stuff like that. We, and this is a big tour. I can't remember who we were on tour with, but it was like a couple name bands, all with hit records at the time. And we'd been playing sort of like to 2,000 people a night. We show up in Houma, Louisiana, and we're playing a school gym with a PA that had, like, the drums were not mic'd. Like, the PA was, like two tweeters sitting on top of two poles. It, like a PA that could no way, shape, or form handle the room. And we're like, this is going to suck. This is going to be terrible. And I guess not a whole lot happened in Houma, Louisiana around that time. And people crawled out of this. There were shoeless people at the show. Like, the entire city of Houma, Louisiana came out. And we're incredibly grateful that we had brought some entertainment to the town. We're like, we're not even that good. This is a crap. And they were like, there's something about sometimes, and it's not a magic bullet, doesn't always work, but when you go to a small town that doesn't, get a lot of entertainment that makes a stop, people are really, really grateful that you go there. And it sounds like that's what happened to you in Titusville.
I want to pick up off that. I want to say that in some ways, this tour that Steve put together, I'm really grateful to be on it. It kind of renewed my faith in comedy in some ways, because that happened to us on multiple occasions, with the exception of getting stiffed. All these other shows that we kind of put together, like last minute in some cases, just came together amazingly, and everybody there. And it's rare that you get to tour with your friends all the time, too, and like see baseball games and just be happy during the day.
Yeah, 5 games and 6 shows in 5 days.
It was just like pure childhood bliss.
Yeah,
it was.
It was so fun. Jealous when Hofstetter outlined what it was going to be. I was just like, that's crazy.
We're going to do it every year.
Yeah,
I can see why. And you know what? I would imagine the club in Titusville will be packed this time next year.
I'm
they're
pretty
have
sure.
To expand their they're gonna have to open a little alcove.
We're gonna have to play the high school gym.
Yeah.
Oh wait, the school closed.
Oh.
Right. Oh.
So
it'll reopen though.
My question to you, Funkhauser, how much longer do we have left in this segment?
Like 5 minutes.
Like 5 minutes. Okay, we have time for this. My question to you is that. It did go crazy, and it wasn't just being on Reddit at the right time, because I put it up on my station blog, and it went bananas, and independent of being up at the right time on other platforms, and it went bananas because people loved it, and they shared it, and they shared it, and they shared it. So, my question to you is, it has officially gone viral, and how, if at all, has that changed your day-to-day existence as a stand-up comic? Because people go like, oh, if I can go viral, I'll be made. Has it really sort of is there a noticeable difference now? Because I remember
definitely.
reading somewhere where you said, I'm playing a new show 2 days later, or I'm playing a venue where I've played a couple times 2 days later after that clip, and the audience size is radically different.
Yeah, there were, I think, 30 or 40 people who came. I did a show at Gotham a couple days later in New York, and I was just one part of this super famous show. I mean, it was, Jeff Ross was there and Ari Shaffir was there, and it was, it's a big deal show. And I'm just doing 8 minutes, and 30 or 40 people came up to me after the show. Not just came to the show, but came up to me after the show and said, "I'm here because I saw that clip." And ever since then, I've been drawing more people. The other day drove 2 hours from St. Louis to come see me at some tiny little college in Illinois. That stuff has been happening. Also, 45,000 new YouTube subscribers, which is both good and bad, because it's good because anything I put up now gets a ton of attention, but it's bad because I've now passed the tipping point to the people who also watch me just to hate me, which is a new thing for me. Plenty of people have hated me, but it's like by accident. Like, they stumble on it and they're like, gross. But now there are people who, straight up subscribers on it, who everything I post, "This guy sucks. Why is anybody watching this?" Be like, well, why are you watching this? Yeah. So it's fun to deal with that. But also, I'm talking to 2 different TV networks about developing a show now. It changed the conversation. That's
very,
it's
very
as simple
cool.
as that.
And you know what? And the thing that blows my mind about it is I think everything that you have on your YouTube page is very, very good. The stuff that you upload there is obviously passed a certain litmus test where it's all of a standard. It's all really, really funny, and I like it all. But it's very interesting to kind of investigate what it is that resonated about this particular one and made it jump off. When I put it up on like my personal page, I was like, my buddy Hofstetter being funny. Like a lot of my friends were like, oh, as a parent, I totally understand what he's saying. Like there's so many people that shouldn't be parents that, that just give lip service to what it takes to be a parent. I think like a lot of people I knew that were good parents were like, yes, it takes more work than just biologically popping them out. And so too many people don't realize that. And it's weird because you don't have a kid, yet you are an advocate for people that do have kids and are raise good ones.
Well, you know what? I think that's the thing. I think you touched on it there. So all the people who aren't parents are like, yeah, I'm tired of these parents acting like jerks. And all the people who are parents, I'm like, yeah, I'm tired of all these bad parents acting like jerks because they don't know that some of them I'm talking about. It was universally, like, everyone liked it, except for one blog. There was one parenting blog that, like, it was actually ridiculous because she was saying, she did the thing I was talking about in it, where she's like, he doesn't know about parents, he doesn't know about kids because he doesn't have any. I was like, that's exactly what I was making fun of in the clip.
Yeah.
And the only reason I even saw that is because she has like 100 different fake Twitter accounts, which are like milfish-looking pictures who only tweet stuff from her blog. And like 100 different ones. So she just kept tagging me in it over and over and over again. And that's the only one who didn't like it.
That was probably useful to you in the long run in terms of like views and subscribers and stuff because she's,
even at the end, she was like, but it was still kind of funny.
It was, it's totally true. Funkhauser, are we evil robot overlording our way into break? All right, then. Cool. Well, we're going to return with Steve and Matt, talk a little bit about how Matt managed to make the transition from being a high-powered lawyer to being a stand-up comic that drives a 98 Saturn. Thank you so much for hanging out.
99.
Oh, how remiss of me.
Jamming on the one like Theo and Stevie. I know it sounds crazy, but you gotta believe me. When I feel like I just can't make it through, I try to think, what would Cliff tell Theo to do? Man, sometimes it's just so hard to be a good person, to lift yourself up and try to be that better version of all the potential people that you got living in your mind. It takes more than happy chance and circumstance. You gotta decide that you're gonna keep your head up and treat people how you want to be treated. Hold doors and be polite, try not to be conceited. But sometimes, kind of sort of all the time, for some of us it's true, it's harder than anything else on earth.
Now, more AD on the radio.
Back once again, the ill behavior, delivering and giving you my musical savior. Back once again, it's your boy AD again. Nobody rock a party better than me. Back once again, the ill behavior, delivering and giving you a musical savior. Back once again, it's your boy AD again. Nobody rock a party better than me.
So we are joined in the studio. We're joined in the studio by our buddy Steve Hofstetter and his buddy, Matt Ritter, who went on, our evil robot overlord comedian Steve Hofstetter, who is rapidly taking over the interwebs left, right, and center with, with his heckler clips. But let's, for those that are just joining us, let's play a little bit more of the, let's play a little bit of the clip again, Funkhauser.
Oh, you're so... That's great.
That's the sort of thing I probably should have told you going into the break, right?
Instantly.
Yeah.
For the parents in the room tonight, for the parents in the room, I want to make sure you know this. You're not special, and I'm tired of your shit. Because parents walk around like having a kid makes you special, and that's not true. Raising a good kid, that makes you special.
Very good. Hey, Funkhauser,
Yeah.
Can you just, like, for future use on the show, can you isolate him going, you're not special, and I'm tired of your... It's
actually a good.
Yeah. I think I want to use that in perpetuity.
Yeah, that's a good...
I like that too.
Cool. Is that okay, Steve? Can
Yeah,
we use that?
absolutely. That's
Sweet.
yeah. I'm happy about that.
I disavow.
Very
Okay.
good. So this is radically change your day-to-day existence. A clip that is of a standard with all the rest of your clips. But something about it really captured the public imagination. I think it was a reference to parenting. So many people that I know who are parents loved that clip, shared that clip, and I think that might have something to do with why it's done so well. So interestingly enough, a guy who doesn't have kids really resonates with kids. And you know what? I think one thing that it really touched on for me was, we talk about this all the time. People talk about, your inalienable rights that you are given just by existing on this earth. It's an unpopular thought, and there's no way to do it without there being a slippery slope into Nazism and eugenics. But I don't think everybody should have reproductive rights. I really don't. At the very least, same deal. I mean, I remember seeing the movie Parenthood. It was one of those things where people rent it for you. It's a weekend VCR movie that your parents rent for you for 5 years at a time. And that one line about Keanu Reeves said about you need a license to have a dog or to drive, or but they'll let anybody have a kid. I was like, you should have to take a test. You should have to take a test before you're allowed to reproduce.
Well,
you should be forced to take parenting classes. You should have to take tests before you do things that can affect the lives of other people. The
really lawyer in me wants to come out and tell you that there was a Supreme Court decision in 1927.
Oliver Wendell Holmes, right?
It was Buck v. Bell.
Oh, look out.
Yeah. And,
smart people.
And if you were labeled an imbecile, they forced sterilization on 70,000 people in 1927. And it's now, in retrospect, looked back as, a kind of low point for our
right.
But at the same time, the quote from Holmes is great.
I was trying to pull up Holmes's quote.
The quote that, this is one I happen to know. I'm not a lawyer at all, but I love this quote where he said 3 generations of imbeciles are enough.
Yeah. It was 3. I was trying to think of how many generations.
Yeah. Chris Bowers, who's a great comic, has had a great idea, and he hasn't done a bit about it. I'm like, you need to do a bit about this. The idea, the way you do it is it's mandatory sterilization. It's not mandatory. It's like birth control in the water supply. And the way that you...
Isn't that what they did to Flint?
Well, yeah. Well, in a way, it's hard to have a kid when you're dead. But the way you do it is so that everybody can have kids, and then the only way to do it chemically is you have to take a pill at the same day for 3 months straight.
Okay.
And so the idea is, if you can't be bothered to do that, or you can't have your bleep together in order to be able to do that, then you shouldn't be able to have kids.
Still too low a bar for me. I'm on board with this. I think maybe it's one child. I like China's one child. I think prove yourself with the one, and then get a second, right?
Yeah, but the gender doesn't matter.
No.
I went to high school.
You don't have to throw any of them in the river.
I went to high school in England, but at a school where there were a lot of Swedish kids, lots of Swedish kids in my high school. And now all of them are extremely tall, extremely good looking, in extremely good shape, and they run large portions of the world. These were all the kids who were like, we were thinking, in sort of 1999, they're like, we were thinking maybe we would go to college and learn that it's possible to buy and sell things on the internet. That sounds like something that might take off in the future. And now they run large chunks of Google and stuff. And it's really strange. They're all sort of incredible specimens of humanity, and come to find out, they practiced eugenics in Sweden until 1983, which is a horrible, awful, ungodly practice that is, like I said, a slippery slope away from being, sort of something Nazi-esque.
I don't want it to be based on height.
Yeah.
As a 5'9" Jew, I don't love where you're going with this. 6'5" blonde, Aryan, Scandinavians of the future.
But, it's sort of it's a horrible, ungodly practice, but I've seen the results and they're good. It's just
they're pretty.
They're pretty and they're successful and they're smart and they're kind and they're all these things that you wish the rest of the world were. And you're like, you reproduce, you have kids. We need more of that going on. Just the whole responsible parenting thing. And it's just like I said, I'm not into the idea of people actually practicing eugenics.
Your Twitter is going to light up, man.
Oh my gosh.
I don't think it's, oh no, we've done this lots of times, and like the most we get is sort of like a couple of people going, we agree. I mean, like, look, obviously you can't do that. That's it is a human right, but I also don't feel as though, I don't feel as though it's that much of a stretch to say, hey, the same way you have to take a test before you're allowed to drive, we would like it if you would take a test before you have a kid. Now, here's the thing. There's no non-invasive way of stopping people from breeding is the problem.
Like you can stop
in
the water supply.
Well, yeah, see, that's,
and
again.
then you have to reverse it.
I'll refer you to the aforementioned slippery slope.
Yeah, but I do love the idea of rewarding people who care enough about, because it's not just a test, it's also about like getting your life together in order to have a kid. Because if you can't take a pill for 3 months, how the hell are you gonna change a kid's diaper? How the hell are you gonna deal with all this garbage?
It's something I'm actually very, very passionate about, because I know so many people that are trying so hard to have kids and for whatever reason can't. And a lot of the times, the barrier is physical. Sometimes it's financial in terms of what it costs to like be in vitro fertilized or something like that. And meanwhile, people are popping out kids left, right, and center that they don't want. And there's no way for the people desperately trying to be parents to get a hold of them. It is a flawed system. And in all seriousness, I hope it's something that we manage to look at moving forward.
There's something happening here, and you should know what it is. The Dumbing Up of America. Now, more AD on the radio.
So have you guys been reading all this stuff? I mean, look, your feed is going to be... and we are joined on the show by our evil robot overlord, Steve Hofstetter, and his buddy Matt Ritter. Have you guys been reading this stuff? And there's so much stuff about Prince absolutely filling everybody's timeline. But have you been reading the... he was a Jehovah's Witness, which I guess... prohibited him, talk professionally for a living, can you tell, from talking about his good works. Have you seen all this stuff that's sort of coming out now that people have said, like, people should know what he was doing, how if you live in the Bay Area, there's a very good chance, and have solar panels on your house providing energy, chances are Prince paid for them. Have you seen this stuff?
I know.
I didn't hear about that either.
Nope.
It's crazy. It is, well, he was a Jehovah's Witness. He's not allowed to speak publicly about his good acts, but he did all sorts of stuff that people are just finding out about now. He helped create an organization called Yes We Code, which has 15 major technology companies working with kids in sort of challenged positions. Kids in the hood, basically, getting them ready for Silicon Valley jobs.
Wait, I don't know much about Jehovah's Witnesses, but if you can't talk about your good works, how can you go on stage with pants with no butt?
It's an interesting contradiction.
It's like they never thought about that scenario.
Yeah, that's just not in the rules yet.
The rule. They were never like, what if we have this kind of like androgynous guy who doesn't refuse to wear pants, and he's going to change the world? No, but I'm not. I think I'm a good person. I don't know that I'd be good enough to never take any credit for any of... Do you think you could do that? Like, never take any credit for any of your good deeds?
Absolutely not.
It's
I only do things so people will know.
Yeah, I mean, come on. Credit is everything in this world. Come on.
Yeah.
Gosh. And apparently he helped out Lauryn Hill as well. She got into some trouble. And
did he re-educate her? Because she had some miseducation.
Re-education.
Apparently he educated her kids, was the thing.
Wow.
He looked after her kids while she was in jail, like provided financial support and stuff. And apparently there's a litany of things that he was doing that nobody knew about, and we're going to see and hear more in the coming days. But they said a lot of the time he would go play shows in the Bay Area where he was involved in a lot of charitable works, and it was really just a cover so he could go check on what his foundations and whatnot were doing. It's really interesting.
The guy was a prince.
Stuff. The guy was a prince among men. He really was. And, it was very, very...
I just hope we stop looking into him now. Now, like, let's just end any sort of, like, deep digging, because I would hate to find out bad stuff, like, later on, you know?
Oh, don't worry. Well, TMZ will find it.
Yeah.
I don't know. Do you have any idols from or just people you admired or respected from childhood that have remained unbesmirched as the years have gone by? Like anyone?
I think a lot. I actually just lost one. Just lost another. We lost a couple of musical icons this year, but two of them that I liked a lot. One that I actually had gotten to meet. I worked for. So David Bowie and Fife Dog.
When did you? You worked for David Bowie?
I worked for David Bowie when I was 20 years old. He ran a company that he was at the forefront of the internet.
I think you have the right complexion to work for David Letterman.
I did.
Bowie,
I didn't even need the sailor suit. And he ran a company that like ran websites for, first it was for his website, and then he expanded to like other artists and sports teams, and I got involved because of the baseball aspect of it. But like he came into the office one day and he was like just super friendly and nice, and Iman came with him, and she just floated into the office. Like, she doesn't walk. She just glides. And then he gave us all tickets to his show the next day, and it was
amazing.
He was awesome. And then someone I never got to meet or see live, but I loved, was Fife Dog from Tribe Called Quest, and we lost him this year too.
They were both unbesmirched. Is what you're saying.
Unbesmirched. They were both, as far as I know, they were great.
Eddie Murphy was always my number one like idol growing up as a kid, and I still feel that he's unbesmirched. I mean, he took home a transsexual at some point in the 90s.
You looked up to him for that.
Yeah, I'm saying that boosted him even higher.
Yeah.
in my regard. So he's still pristine in my book.
He's even less smirched.
Yeah, he's less smirched. He's purely unbesmirched.
Yeah.
Smirched.
Smirched.
He's just smirched.
He's smirched.
Yeah, is he smirched?
Yeah.
I think for me, like there's too many people that I don't want to dig into too much just in case. Like there's people that I don't want to meet just in case. Like if I was to meet Ad Rock from the Beastie Boys, or if I was to meet Tom Waits, I don't know if I would want to, just because I'd be like, yeah. If it didn't go well, it would just blow the foundation of my life.
That would break my heart if Ad Rock was a D-bag. I just don't buy that. I can't see that.
Well, the thing that all three of us have in common is all three of us are Mets fans.
Yeah.
And, and I'm not sure, AD, if I've told you this before, but so I've become good friends with Greg Jeffries, who was like my hero as a kid. Like I wore number 9 in Little League because of Greg. Yeah. And he is like just such a super nice dude. Like he's someone who, they give, when you're in MLB for 10 years, they give you like this gold card that you can use to go to any game at any time. And nice. I went to a game with him, and like he felt sheepish about showing people his gold card. Like we went to an Angels game. I was like, "You played for this team. Like you played here." And he's like, "No, I just don't really want to cause a big deal." Like he's just like a sweet dude.
I love that there's a gold card. Like that's so
it's so cool. It's got their
so insidery.
It's really thick too. It's like
my God.
I'm a little impressive.
I'm a little perturbed that it takes 10 years in the MLB to get that. I would have thought you do a couple seasons and you're good to go. Shocked they make you work for it for a decade.
There are so many people.
There
think about how many
gold
people
cards
play.
You can get a lot quicker.
You play 3 games the bigs, and any strip club ever.
Yeah.
And also, the gold card doesn't work for playoff games. It's only regular season games, which I guess I kind of understand. But it was fun because we went. I actually had tickets, and so we went, and then parking was ridiculous. We couldn't get any parking. It was like $50 or something. I was like, dude, you have a gold card. Just show him the gold card. And he was like, nah, I don't want. I was like, show him the gold card. And he had actually never even used it until and then he showed the people, and they're like, yeah, park right up front, Mr. Jeffries. Thanks so much for coming. and I was like, you see why you show people the gold card?
Yeah.
Actually,
look, there's things that you earn in life. Life is unfair. Occasionally, it's going to be unfair in your favor, and especially if you worked to get some sort of perk in life like that. But I do get it. I that whole "do you know who I am" thing, because I've seen people do the "do you know who I am" thing, and it never goes well, and it is always embarrassing for Jared Leto got thrown out of my radio station's festival for doing the "do you know who I am" thing a couple years back. And it's just like, so it can happen to anyone. And I really kind of feel like I get where he's coming from, because you see people doing it and it is obnoxious. But I think that's cool that you have a card that precludes you from having to say, do you know who I am? You just go, hey, where's the parking for people with one of these? That's it.
I find that most people who say, do you know who I am? It's more like, do you know who I think I am?
Yeah. Are you sure I'm not who I think I am?
Yeah.
One thing that
Don't
I've
you know
learned
people who I've convinced people that I am?
Are you sure I'm not the person that I think I am when I look in the mirror?
Yeah.
One thing that I've learned, and it makes me admire what you guys do so much, is the fact that I understand the function of salespeople in entertainment, like salespeople in radio and television and whatnot, because I've come to realize that it's good to meet with clients. Like if you have someone that's going to buy sponsorship on your show or do something like that, it's good to meet with them, but you don't want to be the person doing business with them, because anytime that you have to explain your value immediately drops by like 75%. So it's like do you know who I am? What you're doing is explaining your value, which intrinsically makes you worthless. It's like a weird thing. It's a weird
I love when people ask me, like I've had people come up to, because someone will see somebody else recognize me, or someone will see somebody else after a show, whatever it is, and someone will be like, "Hey, are you famous?" And I was like, by the very nature of that question, no.
Yeah.
If you have to ask me, well then no.
Not quite.
Yeah, I ran into some old friends from high school. They're like, "Are you famous now?" I was like, "Do you think I'm famous? Have you ever heard of me before?" And they're like, "Well, from high school." I was like, "And beyond that?" They're like, "No." I was like, "Then no is your answer." No, I'm not.
Yeah,
like,
among
not even close.
select people, it's actually a really weird place to be, where there are people who, to them, I am incredibly famous.
Mm-hmm.
Like, to them, it's like, they start their day with my Facebook post, and then they look at my YouTube, and then, like, I am part of their day. And then they could be talking to their best friend, and they'll be like, "Yeah, I saw Steve Hofstetter's new video." And they'll be like, "Is he someone from your high school? Like, who is that?" Like, they just have no idea who the hell I am.
Yeah.
And that's most people.
But the world is so fragmented now, too. I mean, like, what is fame, It's all relative. It's
3.5 million people watched that video in 2 days, which means 7 billion other people didn't.
Yeah, it's funny
it
because did you see? It was an episode of Family Guy that was on recently where they said something like, "Oh, what about Jenna Marbles?" And they're like, "We don't know who that is." And we're like, "Yeah, neither do I." But she's on YouTube and she's rich. And like whoever that equals 3 guy is, like, what about Ray William Johnson? Like, no, I don't know who that is. Neither do I. But he's on YouTube and he's rich. And Brian points to the little fox bug in the corner of the screen. He goes, "You see this thing? This is over." And it's weird because because it is so fragmented now, you can be an uber superstar among a very sort of like select slice of the population. And to those people, a Steve Hofstetter or a Matt Ritter is everything. And to a lot of other people, not so much. It's just like, it's very weird. I kind of get more out of meeting people that are, I guess, well-known. Like, I used to see High-Pitched Eric when I lived in Queens. Like, High-Pitched Eric from the Howard Stern show was just wandering around. I'd see him on the subway and stuff. I'd be like, "That's amazing!" Like, that's like,
I'd rather see him than Denzel Washington, too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's crazy. And, like, I don't know. Queens, like, you guys, Matt, did you live in Queens? Long Island? So, and you did, right, Steve?
Yeah, I'm a Queens boy.
So, like, Queens had some interesting residents of it. Like, I mean, that still, I think LL Cool J still has a house or had a house at one point in Forest Hills.
He represents Queens.
Yeah, and there was, who was it? What was the guy? Really weird actor. I'm not into movies so much, but he was...
Oh, that guy.
Adrian
Brody?
The weird guy that kissed Halle Berry
Brody,
at the... Yeah, I saw him walking around Queens, and he's from Forest Hills, and so is like Ray Romano and all, and like, and I've seen a lot of these people in Queens. It's a really weird thing where you like. I think a lot of people just don't, they might go off to Hollywood, but they don't leave Queens. Yeah, totally.
Adrian Brody's like, "I can't afford Manhattan."
Yeah, I got to do 3 more movies to afford Manhattan.
Yeah, who can?
Yeah, I wanted to get a 2-bedroom.
So what is next for you guys that people should know about?
In 1 minute.
In 1 minute.
Go to at Steve Hofstetter on Twitter. Oh, but my YouTube. So I just got back from a massive 3-week college tour, and I have new clips going up every 2 days. Every 2 days I have a new clip for the next 3 weeks.
Very, very cool. And you, Matt, where can people check out your work?
Matt Ritter1 on Twitter, Matt Ritter Comedy, and you can check out my schedule there.
Theme song for you.
Okay, well, we'll come up with one. Something with the law.
Do you have like the LA Law theme?
Yeah, if you have the LA Law theme, that'd be pretty badass.
No.
Do you have that dun-dun from Law and Order?
No.
We can just hum it. Dun, 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 dun.
I think the show's over. Funkhauser's trying to play us off. Thank you very
so
much,
much,
guys. Appreciate you coming in, and continued success with everything that you guys do. Come back anytime. Thank you very much.
Thanks, AD.
I